Bowie with Zowie Bowie. Chris Phillips, and he said the whole story. Full interview, my friend. It's been an honor having you here at my house on my show.
Thank you for having me. And the fact that we get to go out there and make people happy and try to reflect the true, I guess you might say, the maverick spirit of this great city. I couldn't be more proud, and I can't wait for you all to join us, and I hope that you tune in, because it's going to be kind of a special time we got to share together.
I mean, from Tempe, Arizona to Vegas, he said every single thing, step by step.
Hello everyone, this is Edgardo Valdivieso here from my house in Las Vegas.
Welcome to one more show of Edgardo Valdivieso Show, and today we have the honor to have, a rock star here in Edgardo Valdivieso Show. But before that, don't forget to subscribe and give us a like, because this channel is growing every single day. Wow, Chris Phillips,
Yes.
known as Zowie Bowie.
Yes, but I'm changing my name to Edgardo tomorrow. I love that name.
Oh, wow. I will become a rock star. I will be known like in every single show here in Vegas. We're going to talk a little bit more. But before we dive in about, who you are, the rock star you are, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about whatever you want to share here with the audience. In my show, who's Chris Phillips?
Well,
first of all.
Chris Phillips was a kid with a dream, and that dream was to come to Las Vegas and make an impact in some small way, in the way that the idols that I looked up to growing up and coming to this great city. I used to drive down Las Vegas Boulevard, and I would see all these iconic names on the billboards, Frank Sinatra and Don Rickles and Paul Anka. And the energy that this city had with them as kind of the face of the city was so alluring to me, and I thought it was so exciting. So for me, it wasn't necessarily ever about wanting to be a singer or a performer or an entertainer. I could care less about going to Hollywood or touring or making records. I wanted to be a Vegas performer, and even more so than a Vegas performer, a Vegas guy. Because I just thought living that Vegas life that you would see on TV from Dan Tana and the show Vegas, and these clips you would see from these entertainers that lived this life here in Las Vegas, and what it must have been like, not just during their show, but after the show, and what kind of parties they went to and the life they led. That was so appealing to me that, long story short, here's this dorky kid from Tempe, Arizona named Chris Phillips, who
born in Tempe,
I was
Arizona?
born and raised in Tempe, Arizona, which is a suburb of Phoenix and Scottsdale. And I had a family that was a relatively conservative family. And my father was an attorney. My mother was a first grade teacher. But their passion and their love was entertainment. Because my father used to be a jazz piano player. My mother used to be an opera singer. So they were always intrigued by Hollywood movies and concerts and their favorite singers. Of course, they would play their records, back in the old days, in the early 70s, where that's all we had is a turntable. And so we didn't even have headphones and things like that. So I would take the speakers and I would put them next to my head, and I would lay on the floor and listen to my mother's records, primarily of Elvis Presley, live from the Hilton here in Las Vegas. Wow. And so I would lay there and I would dream about not only being Elvis Presley, but being Elvis Presley in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Hearing Frank Sinatra at the Copa Room at the Sands in Las Vegas. Sammy Davis Jr. at Bally's in Las Vegas. And so to me, I loved these singers, I loved these entertainers, but it was more specifically who and what they were when they were in the entertainment capital of the world. And so to me, that kicked off my fascination and my interest in wanting to at least come to Las Vegas and see what that was all about.
What year was that? That you were talking about coming and see all these.
So my dream when I came to Las Vegas was to go to the Hilton and go to the showroom where Elvis got his start, which was when they opened what was called the International, of course, at the time. They then changed it to the name Hilton some years after. But he was, the guy that I always admired. And when they chose Elvis to represent that particular property, he then kind of represented the new Vegas. Up to that point, it was dominated by the Rat Pack and kind of some of the more traditional lounge tuxedo-clad singers at the time. And then Elvis came along and kind of gave it that rock and roll, sexy edge and image that I thought was so damn cool. And I think any man that's ever held a microphone has always kind of been able to look to Elvis Presley as their inspirations, or at least many have, and he certainly was to me. So when I came here for the first time, I had an uncle that lived here. His name was Bill, and he was the general counsel for a company here in Vegas called Piccoli, Nevada, which built Queens Ridge and other such things, and he was a very prominent attorney. And so he was kind of a well-to-do fellow with tremendous personality. And, when I came here, he put me in his Rolls Royce, and I said, Bill, I got to go to the Hilton. Whatever's performing there, I want to go there. So this was 1978. I was in my 40s. No, that's not true. I would have been about 12 years old. And we got to go to the Hilton.
At the 11-year-old.
So it was my first time in Las Vegas.
Wow.
My first impression was going to the Hilton, getting out of this beautiful car, and when you walked into the hotels back in that day, that's when everybody used to be dressed up. You had to have a tie on, and the women had pearls. And there was a lot of sophistication, and there was dignified. And so we went into the showroom, and of course, being who he was was able to get the VIP cabana table right in the middle, the booth. That's back when there were showrooms. Now they're all turning into theaters, which I'm not a big fan of, but I love the old traditional Vegas showrooms. And this was the crowning jewel. And so, the tuxedo-clad maitre d' had us come in, and Mr. Phillips right this way, and we sat down, and everything was so exciting and so opulent, and unlike anything I'd ever seen in my life back in Tempe, Arizona. So the lights go down, the curtains open, and I was hit with this wall of sound with this 32-piece orchestra. I'd never heard anything like this. I'd never really even been to a concert before. The only musical experience I think I'd ever had at that point was to go see Annie on Broadway. And I thought that was cool. But then when this impact hit me, it was a whole other deal. Out comes this charismatic gentleman with a tan and these perfect white teeth and this crazy hair. And he just stole and captivated the audience for the second he walked on stage without even saying a word. And all he was armed with was a cocktail and a microphone and a spotlight. And that's all it took. He just began singing and speaking to the audience. And I was completely in awe of not just his talents, but more so his aura and his presence. And I'll be damned if halfway through the show, this guy didn't walk down the steps into the crowd and directly to our booth right in the middle. And he leaned down and he went right for me, standing in the spotlight, kind of glistening with his sweat and his persona. And he said, "Welcome to Las Vegas, young man." It's like, it was to me, that was like experiencing religion, for the first time. I'm so moved by his energy that there was something about the way he made me feel at that very moment that changed my life. I said, whatever that was right there, I want to be able to someday be able to come to Las Vegas and do for others, especially for young people that may have a dream to do something and they're a little confused as to what direction. If I would be able to inspire somebody on the magnitude and on the level that this guy did, it's like, oh my God, my life would mean something, because his influence on me was so strong. My dream was to have that much influence on somebody else someday. So, with that said, I then wanted to be not just a Vegas entertainer, but a Vegas guy. I'm not telling you his name because there's a reason behind that.
Okay. But you said something. You said Mr. Phillips.
Yes, because my name is Chris Phillips. My uncle's name is Bill Phillips.
Okay.
And so, I then, from that point forward, became very interested in music, entertaining, becoming an entertainer. The guy that held the microphone in the front. But truth be told, it wasn't until I went to my actual first rock and roll concert in 1980 when I was a freshman in high school, seeing a band called Van Halen with the lead singer, Diamond David Lee Roth, who came busting out of the gate with nothing but Jack Daniels, tight pants, and hair, and the screams from the girls and the excitement that he was able to create. I was like, oh, screw college. I want to do that. I want to do whatever this guy's doing.
So, did you finish college? Did you finish high school?
Oh, yes. But yes.
What about college?
I went to college from 1984 to 1984.
What was that again?
1984 to 1984. Because I sit there in class and all I wanted to dream was being David Lee Roth in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Or one of these guys that I looked up to. Of course, I loved Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. and other rock star idols of mine. And so after high school, I got into some bands, but I was actually a long-haired heavy metal drummer. If you can imagine, there was a point where I could sit on my hair. And I moved to Hollywood and I did the whole rock and roll scene. But it wasn't until 1994 when I had some friends that were in kind of an early 80s novelty band. And their singer got sick. And they said, Chris, we know that you've always wanted to be a singer instead of a drummer. How would you like to come up front and give it a try? Oh, God, here's my chance. So I didn't know what I was doing. I never sang a note. I'm in my late 20s. I'd never sang. Not even in the shower, I never sang. I gave it a shot. I did the show. Luckily, God was looking down on me, I guess the Vegas God, because I only learned 4 songs. I didn't have the capacity at that time to memorize anything. I didn't even know what I was doing. I got 4 songs into the show. There's 1,000 people in front of me. And Vegas God came down and said, we're going to have the police shut this show down. Police came in, shut the show down, stopped me at the exact second I didn't know another song. But what happened is that was just enough of a taste to feel what it was like to be up in front and be in front of people and to feel people responding to my energy. So I immediately went home, I sold my drums, I cut my hair in the bathroom, and I said, I want to be a singer. But the problem was, what do I call myself? The hell, I have a band, but I knew I wanted to be the singer. So I didn't really want to be in a band. I wanted to be the singer like Elvis and David Lee Roth and these people that was just their names, or Elton John and these kind of guys. So I thought, in case I completely fall on my face and I'm a terrible singer, I'm going to pretend that I'm David Bowie's son, Zowie Bowie.
Okay.
That's interesting because Zowie Bowie, the real Zowie Bowie, David Bowie's son, even as a young child, changed his name to Duncan Jones. Took his real last name and became to this day, he's an incredibly accomplished movie director. He's very famous. But he never went by Zowie Bowie. So the name was kind of untaken. I then stepped in and said, I'm going to take over the role as Zowie Bowie and start my own show. And that way I could, in a sense, hide behind this character, this personality because I'm a very shy, introverted person. But when I become Zowie Bowie, it's a very different story. And so I started this show, created something in Scottsdale.
And that was 1994?
That was 1994. I started my own band called Zowie Bowie.
Okay. In Arizona.
In Arizona, with the intent of developing something that could get the attention of Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
If I could develop it there, get the kinks out, kind of figure out what I'm doing, learn how to, negotiate my way through the business side of things on my own, because I never had a manager or an agent or people. To this day, I've never had anybody do anything for me in terms of my business, really. It's always been kind of like a one-man band in terms of the business, the marketing, the creative aspect, and certainly the negotiating deals. And so I started the show in Phoenix. I was about 4 years into it I built up a huge following at this elaborate mega club in Scottsdale, Arizona called Barcelona.
Oh, I remember. I went there. I did went there. Yeah. I used to have an apartment over there in Glendale.
Well, then you probably
On the Westgate.
Yes.
You know, when the Super Bowl happened, in all those days, I used to be half of the time here, half of the time in Arizona.
Well, I'll be damned. Well, it was.
I used to go there every day.
There was always sports figures and celebrities, and when we were performing there, we were there every Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Uh-huh.
They had never done live bands. It was more of a DJ club. But we came in, I said to the owner, who was kind of the terrible Hearst of Arizona. He owned gas stations all over the place and kind of well known, but he wanted his own club so he could kind of come and have a place to go where he was kind of the man. So we walked in and said, "Sir, you need to hire us, and we're going to transform your club into a typical DJ club, into a live music club, and you're going to do something nobody's really ever done and kind of change and create a precedent for live music where you come in and that's the main focus of the club other than the DJ." So we started there. Things went very well. We were then bringing in about 8,000 people in a weekend, and it became kind of something of a phenomenon for this kind of thing in Scottsdale. And we were very proud of it. I couldn't believe the success we were having. I was so excited because I thought maybe if we can do well here, we'll catch the attention of Las Vegas, because that was my dream. All I cared about was going to Las Vegas. Lo and behold, one night, we understood, and we found out later, we didn't know at the time, that the Fertittas, Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta, who obviously own the locals,
Station
second family, Station Casinos, they caught wind of us. And what we didn't know, obviously, because we had no idea, is that they were building this new luxury resort.
The Red Rock.
In Summerlin.
The Red Rock Casino.
And in Scottsdale, we were kind of in the nice end of town, and we were considered kind of a luxury brand. We went from being nobody to endorsing Mercedes-Benz. We were on the cover of magazines, and it was like a dream come true, even in Scottsdale. But they viewed us as being something that would reflect the luxury brand that they were trying to bring to their flagship resort called Red Rock Resort Casino. And they approached us. We then did a showcase here in town. And one of the main reasons we are here in town is because of a guy named Steve Sear, who was a big whale hunter, so to speak, host at the time at Hard Rock. He even wrote a book, and he's still working here in town. He's very well known. But we caught wind of him because we saw him on an E! Special. And we thought, we need to get in contact with this guy. And sure as the world, he brought us out. We did a showcase. And at that showcase was the entertainment director for Red Rock Resort Casino. So between the Fertittas finding out about it and the entertainment director, they got together and said, "Hey, we should really consider bringing this Zowie Bowie thing from Scottsdale to be the show at Red Rock." Long story short,
what year was that?
This was 2005.
2005.
And they were under construction.
Okay.
And they hadn't picked a show. And this is where I guess if there was anything that we did that created kind of a new precedent for Las Vegas, was to come into town, being our first performance, our first time in town, as not really a cover band in a lounge playing all day long and with no promotion, nobody really knew who they were, to being a headlining show at this brand new, beautiful resort. And when we talked to them at the time, I was kind of telling them, I was so naive. I didn't know what I was doing. I would never do this day because they probably wondered who's this, nobody from Scottsdale coming in and telling us how we're going to do our business. I said, to the hotel, I said, we really want to come here. It's not about the money for us. We want to be the face of the hotel. We want billboards. We want to be on cabs. We want to be on the marquee. They're like, you're a cover band. I said, I know, but I think that we can present ourselves as a headlining act, and it's going to work. And they went for it, and they agreed. And God bless the Fertittas, the Station Casinos. They brought us here. and changed my life and made my dreams come true in ways I never could have believed. We drove into town with a U-Haul on the back of the car, and we're like, "Oh, there's one of our billboards. Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, there's another one." So they put way above and beyond what we ever dreamed they would do. I was hoping for maybe one billboard, maybe something here in a cap. Oh my God! It was as if we were, one of the major, like Celine Dion or something, the way they marketed.
Wow.
And it was the marketing of Zowie Bowie in 2006 when they opened Red Rock Resort Casino, which set the tone and the precedent for what Zowie Bowie not only was for us, but what it meant for cover bands from that point forward. Where I think it raised the bar for what a cover band could be. Now it could actually be a headlining show that you advertise. And so from that point forward, I've been living my Vegas dream now for over 19 years. 2026 will be 20-year anniversary being in Las Vegas. And so we became the show at Red Rock. We were there. Guys, they were so sweet and kind to have us there for about 10 years straight. And then we branched off from there and did all kinds of other things in other places. But it was that place that and I have to, if I may, explain something that was a big part of coming here, which they didn't even anticipate or even really understand, I think, at the time, which was such a big deal to me. And that was, if we were to come to Las Vegas and be the face of your brand new luxury hotel, we desperately wanted to talk them into not only allowing us to do because Zowie Bowie, if you did not know, is a high energy nightclub party concert. Hip hop, rock, dance, disco. And the way we kind of changed things also is cover bands and things weren't doing things like we were doing at the time, which was we kind of invented putting our music together like a DJ does, where it's just little pieces of songs mashed together into medleys. And so we didn't really play a song, stop, people would clap, we'd talk, and then play another song. We would play like 8 songs in a row, just like a DJ does, but only take like the good part of the song that people were familiar with. If there's like a slow, boring part of the song, we'd cut that out. And we would just hit them over the head. Bam, bam, bam.
Non-stop. I like that. Non-stop. I'm saying there's a Fremont Street Experience.
That's what
it's incredible.
Because this is what taught me how to do this. Is in Scottsdale, the owner of the club said, well, the reason we like the DJs, people never leave the dance floor.
There is a non-stop.
Well, shit, I can make that happen with live music. And so we edited our music together, so we knew we had to go from song to song to song to song to song, never letting people leave the dance floor. That was the whole key to Zowie Bowie. It was the whole, I guess you might say, gimmick of what we did. And also, it was myself and another blonde gal that we looked like we were like some beach kids from Southern California, but doing hardcore hip-hop. That was another novelty at the time that nobody was doing at all. Wow. And so we came into town. It's like, here's this blonde-haired, blue-eyed couple singing, 50 Cent and Jay-Z and Tupac and things like that, which was unheard of. Now everybody does it. But back then it was kind of groundbreaking. But that was not my passion. It was what I thought was a great business idea. I love the music and I love the energy because I love rock music and all this. But the reason I came to Las Vegas was to keep the true classic vintage Vegas big band sound alive. The guy that I came out in the tux and the cocktail Sinatra and the big band and horns and class and traditional, I guess what I would call the Vegas soundtrack of all the great music that was so synonymous with when you think of Vegas, you think of certain music and styles and that kind of, Tom Jones and, all that kind of thing, Elvis. So I told Red Rock, I'll be happy to do what you want us to do. If you let me, on my own dime, you don't have to pay for it, on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock, come out and do my full-fledged vintage Vegas big band show with the horns and the tux and the gown and the traditional Vegas soundtrack that went with it. And they agreed. And so I got to live out my biggest fantasy of creating 2 shows at once in the same stage, completely opposite from each other. They couldn't be more opposite. Over here, hip hop, rock, top 40 dance. Over here, it was Shirley Bassey and Tom Jones, and with a Don Rickles approach to how I dealt with the audience. It was always, to me, it was what I learned from the beginning. I think it separated me too at the time is that I learned from the get-go, it was never about us. It was about them. It's about the audience, about the people who come to see. That's who it's about. That's what it's about. And so for me, I always went above and beyond to engage the audience throughout the night, through the show, almost on a personal level. To me, to this day, if I'm walking on stage, I want everybody to be my best friend within 5 minutes. Like we're all in the backyard, all my high school friends, and we're all going to throw a party, and we're all in this together. It's not about me, it's about us. And so I think if there was anything that separated me, made me a little different, it was purely the fact that I learned from my idols to really talk to people, really engage them. Because so many shows I would see in Vegas had this like wall between the audience and the act, in the sense that the act would go through the same banter every night. They would go the same blocking, the same moves, the same things they would say. To this day, I never have a single preconceived notion of what I'm going to do or say when I walk on stage. It's 100% real, genuine, off the cuff. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it may not be, but it's always real, 100% real. And I think that people can feel and pick up on genuine, off-the-cuff energy and appreciate that sometimes more than something that is maybe really well done and polished, but something you would see every single night in the same exact way. So you go see Zowie Bowie 10 times, you see 10 different shows. Except for the music. It's like the soundtrack to me being me. And so I got to do this big band show. I got to do the dance show.
So on the same stage at different times?
Same stage, different times.
Okay.
Different outfits, different attitude, but still with the same kind of semi-intoxicated, roasting, like a Don Rickles roasting atmosphere of kindly making fun of things and people and myself. I'm always so.
So what year was that? 2005?
That was 2006 when they opened it.
So 2006. April 2006.
Correct.
So that was the beginning in Vegas.
That was the beginning of my Vegas fantasy coming true in the most incredible way I could possibly have ever imagined. And again, I can't say enough how much I appreciate Station Casinos and the Fertittas for not only changing my life and creating a dream come true, but I think giving the locals, because we were designed to be a locals thing, not a tourist thing. And I think it was something they did special for the locals, giving them something special just for them that the Strip did not have. Because we were not on the Strip. We had nothing to do with the Strip. Even though we were in Vegas, we were still,
Yeah, it's
its own thing. And so it was designed, and I would say 90% of the crowds that would come in, there'd be a line around the building for years. But it was all locals.
And I used to go, and I used to go there at Red Rock and watch you. That's what I mentioned the first time. Over there, at the Red Rock Casino.
And so there you go. And
so from Red Rock, take me from Red Rock, but let's go back very brief. So the Fertittas pretty much said, Zowie Bowie, come to Vegas.
They embraced us.
Move to Vegas.
And luckily, the locals embraced us, which was even more important, because without them, we'd have nothing. And so if there's anybody I really need to extend a tremendous amount of gratitude, it's the people who supported our show. Because, you go see Zowie Bowie, you don't see once or twice, you saw like 100 times. Not necessarily because of my show, but because it was a social scene where they knew all their friends were going to be, and you could go and, have a couple drinks and, get lucky maybe. And that's, I think, what I wanted to facilitate to the Las Vegas locals, like we did to people in Scottsdale, because we were very much a social thing, more so than a show.
Yeah. So from 2006, I remember you in Red Rock.
Yep.
I mean, that place used to be packed.
Oh, God.
It's standing.
I
always be standing in the back, and that place was
beautiful room.
Packed, rocking, nonstop, just like what you said. So take us
a little Tito's vodka in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So we had a really great run there, and like with anything, they want to do different things. We want to do different things.
So from Red Rock Casino, where do you go next? Because you have done multiple shows all over Vegas.
Yes, and there's there's two things that really happened at the time. We branched out at that point and said, let's go down and try this thing downtown. There was a whole different
From Red Rock Casino?
We were still at Red Rock.
Uh-huh.
We said, let's go try this also. And we went to this thing called Fremont Street Experience.
Who took you over there?
We had a gentleman that at the time, there's an agent, Paul Sanders, who said, Chris, I'm doing some shows down here. Why don't you come and try this? And we did. We hit it off immediately. And long story short, with Fremont, we loved it because it was,
it's always packed.
It was. I mean, what a beautiful thing being an entertainer. That's tough at times is selling tickets in Las Vegas. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. Fremont, it's always packed. Always.
Yeah.
It had a wild energy to it. It was a little edgy. It was a little frightening. It was a little freaky, but it was to me, to this day, the real Vegas is downtown Vegas. It's not Fremont. I love it.
You have to have that experience. And once you go there, you see, Zowie Bowie perform, you're like, wow.
Well, let me tell you this, the greatest crazy show in town is what I see from my perspective. It's crowd.
It's packed, people dancing, having fun.
If you haven't figured out, long story short with Zowie Bowie, the only reason I'm doing this is because I love making people happy. Even when I got started, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a comedian or a dancer or what the hell I wanted. I wanted to be on stage, and I wanted to bring enjoyment to people like people did to me. So I thought, okay, might as well go along the lines of being a singing guy like my idols. So I chose that. And on Fremont...
What year was that on Fremont?
That was a couple of years. I've now been down there for 15 years straight.
So you've been there for 15 years.
Wow. We're never leaving.
Okay.
I love this.
Okay.
But the thing that's so great is you get a piece of every possible demographic walking the face of the earth in front of you every night. And it's a new audience every night. So when you start on Fremont, and not just every night, but every set, it's a complete transfusion of blood. So when you start on Fremont, you're getting 500 to 1,000 people in front of you. They have no idea who you are. And you have to sell them on who you are, what you're about, and why we're going to have the best time ever in Las Vegas right here, right now.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, go to Fremont Experience, the Fremont Street Experience, and go see Zowie Bowie. Put in the comments right here on this show. And if you haven't been there, say, you know what, I'm going to be there. Or just go, and we're going to give you all the social media and everything so you can go and follow it. Zowie Bowie. So we're going to get to there. So going, and we want to go some of those experience, but you have performed even on the end resort and different casinos.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in all my years of doing this happened when we left Red Rock and went to, we were brought to the Monte Carlo. When it was Park MGM now, but then it was the Monte Carlo. Mm-hmm. And we did the same deal there. We'll perform in your club. We'll do the nightclub show. If you let me go into this grand theater called the Lance Burton Theater, which looked like this opulent opera house, something, from out of New York or Paris or something. So
very nice theater, yeah.
Oh,
I've been there with his show. I was there with Eddie, with my son.
Okay,
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
So we got to do our show on Sunday nights with a 17-piece orchestra, dancers, the whole tux gown, classic Vegas thing. But the reason I'm bringing this up, I didn't get 4 shows into our Vintage Vegas show at Monte Carlo. We had billboards coming out of the airport. They were on cabs. Whatever Red Rock did, Monte Carlo took it up even another notch.
Are you kidding?
And oh my God, they turned us into this. We were marketed on the same level as any major Cirque du Soleil show and things like that. I couldn't believe what they did. But I come out on stage. I'm a cocktail in my hand, my microphone, my tan, my teeth. You see where I'm going with this. And the crazy hair. I had become this guy that I idolized in 1978, now in Las Vegas with my own showroom, my own theater, my own billboards, my own cocktail, and I'm singing a song, and I'm living the greatest life ever. And I'll be Damn, if I didn't look down in the front row,
And he said, no.
from 1978, who changed my life.
You kidding?
Staring at me.
Oh, wow.
And then no major star, really had come to see us that was that kind of a guy. And there he is.
Wow.
And I started telling the story to the audience. I said, folks, I got to stop the show. I said, I would not be standing here right now unless in 1978, I went to the Hilton and I saw this performer change my life. He moved me in a way that made me want to do for you what he did for me. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Mr. Tony Orlando?
Oh, wow. Wow, wow. What?
And it was so tempting. I just made this big speech, and it was something that I was talking about. So he came back after the show into the dressing room and said, Zowie, holy shit, I can't believe that happened. He goes, I got to be honest, though. The exact same thing happened to me in 1962 when I came to Vegas for the first time, and I sat in the showroom, and I watched a guy by the name of Bobby Darin.
Oh, wow.
Bobby Darin changed my life, made me want to be an entertainer. Then that paid that forward to 1978. He did that for me. And now, recently, I'm by no means no rich, famous, well-known international artist like these guys with international, TV shows and records. I'm none of that. But I'm still a guy that looks down into an audience, and I find young people, and I make a damn big thing out of making them feel like he made me feel. And I can tell that they're moved by that. And then this is the craziest thing, and this makes it all worth it. I now have been doing this for so long that I have people come up and they say, Zowie, I met my wife at your show. We've been married for 18 years. We're back here on our anniversary with my child who just watched you and said he wants to be Zowie Bowie. To somebody that was raised by somebody who met at our show. There's these stories that kind of come full circle that makes everything I've ever done worth it. And I am so proud, not of what I've done or accomplished and whatever. I'm proud that I got to live out my dream of making people feel, hopefully, on kind of the same level as people made me feel 40, 50 years ago.
Wow.
And so that's why I never want to give this up. I just love it so much. And I just...
Wow, what a story.
It's my little story. It's
wow.
It's
I mean,
small little story.
That's why I love what I do here at this show. Because stories, telling stories can change someone's life.
Oh, God.
Listening. Okay?
Yes. So now, now to take it one step further, if I may, within 2 minutes here, to wrap this up. I never really thought I'd be married, or certainly not have a child. Well, long story short, I'd never done something like this in my life. I'd had various girlfriends. I had a wife back in the 90s and whatnot. I've never done this. I met girls like I think anybody else does in a bar or in some social function. But there was this one girl I kept seeing on Facebook. I was like, gosh, she's so cute. She seemed, because I had dated various girls and kind of met them in the traditional Vegas scene and the Vegas kind of girls, whatever that implies.
The Vegas style.
Vegas style gals, which was great. God bless them. But I'm kind of an old-fashioned, traditional guy with old-fashioned values and whatnot. And I saw this girl who had this beautiful son and went to dinner with her father on Sundays. And out of the blue, I contacted her and said, you don't know me. My name is Chris. We've never met. This was so awkward for me. I felt like a dork. And I said, but I have this kind of fun event I'm going to. Would you consider going with me? Well, she got the message, and she was taken by it, just kind of like, what the hell? She called her mom. She goes, Mom, you know that orange guy on the billboards, Zowie Bowie? He just called and asked me out. Your mom said, sure, go. Why not? Long story short, we met. It was love at first sight. We got married immediately, had this beautiful wedding, and soon thereafter had this something that I never dreamed I was going to have in my life, which has become so much more important than anything I've done musically or professionally, and that was to have this beautiful daughter named Ava Rose. She's now 8. And so my wife was not in music, But during COVID, I sat there on the couch for 14 months. I hadn't had a week off in years and decades. COVID, we all sat there and got fat and contemplated our existence. But during that time, my wife said, how can I help your show? I'm not an entertainer. I'm not a singer. What can I do? I said, well, my dream is always to have a bunch of showgirls around me. That'd be cool. But, you know, to be honest, it's kind of expensive to rent, and then you got to pay for the choreography. It just kind of isn't realistic. Plus, it's not really yours. She goes, well, how about if I start from scratch and design showgirl costumes for you? Long story short, I now have about 18 to 20 of the most elaborate, gorgeous, expensive, custom showgirl outfits that are on the level of something you would have seen in Jubilee at Bally's. And she's gone through now over 1 million rhinestones that she has set there at night. 1 stone, 2 stones, 3 stones, the feathers, the things, the fans, the headdresses. Oh, I got the most elaborate showgirl show in town because of my wife, who had never done anything like this in her life, was determined to sit down and help me. And now I kind of get to set myself apart from many others because I have this full-scale vintage Vegas big band show that looks like, you know, something you would have seen in 1975 at the Dunes Hotel that we were talking about.
Yeah.
In a showroom there. And so I get to live out my fantasy of being this old classic Vegas showroom entertainer guy with showgirls around me that are all beautiful choreographed dancers. And so the fact that I get to share my passion with my wife, who's a hardworking gal, she's worked with the Went On course since the day they opened, and she's the hardest working girl I've ever known. But on her spare time, she sits there and makes showgirl costumes all night.
Wow. Wow.
And so to take that one step further, like I said, I never dreamed in a million years I would have a kid, let alone a kid who is a ham like daddy, or who's got this, I guess, this very addictive personality. When she walks in a room, she steals the show. She's 8 years old.
At home.
Where we go.
Yeah. Okay.
I used to be somewhat relevant. I used to be the guy that got the attention when I walked in the room. Now I'm nothing. I am nobody when I go with my daughter, Ava Rose. She steals the air out of the room when she walks in. And long story short, just a couple weeks ago, she'd never been to my show in Fremont because we didn't think it was okay to bring her down there. It's kind of rough sometimes. My wife was kind enough to finally come to one of my shows down there and brought Ava. And she had never held a microphone. We never talked about her being a singer or anything like that. But I had heard her singing this particular song around the house. And I looked down at the microphone, and there's 1,000 people in front of me. I said, Ava, would you come backstage with me real quick? I was standing in front of everybody. My wife brought her back, and I opened the door, and I said, Ava, you know that song you're singing at home? You think with the band you could sing that? And I don't know if that's something you think you can do. There's a lot of people. This is my daughter's coach. She goes, Dad, I got this. Grab the mic. I was like, whoa.
She still go over to show. I watched that.
This is it's on my Instagram, and you can go and look at it. And this is her never standing in front of a crowd of people. And the song started, and it's as if she did it 100 times. Just fully confident, fearless. And at the end of the song, people roared and cheered, and she walked up. She was like, "Oh, good night, everybody." And I realized, thank God, I have a future. I can retire soon. Just will take over. That is my kid. And so
8 years old.
8 years old, and she's kind of like a little Shirley Temple.
And you started at what? 11, 12? Performing?
We do different times, but for the most part, we're kind of a late night thing. And so from between here, and they just extended us through another 3 months.
No, but when you were...
that was probably one of our earlier shows, like around 9 or 10.
9 or 10?
When she came on. But now our shows starting in July are going to be from 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the morning. But out there, that's like the prime time, for crazy drunk Vegas people.
Do you have, if you have the little clip of your daughter, I would love to put it here. So I want the audience to see that, because when I watched it, wow, amazing. And so
she goes home and And we put it on the social media. And I love the fact that I've been doing this for 40 freaking years and she's got more views than I ever have. That's fine. That's no problem. I have no problem with that.
Wow. That's
the way it should be, and I love it.
So,
I just want to say this is cool.
So, Chris, last Monday, if I'm not mistaken, you were in the show with Chris Angel. And Chris Angel is one of the #1 shows here in Vegas. Matter of fact, I did a video with him on one of the fights prior to comeback. He was there ringside. I was there, and I did a video with him. And I mean, his shows are amazing. I have seen him multiple times.
I have so much respect for him on so many levels. I don't even know where to begin. But
you know what? On that day, last Monday, and I saw, I believe, on your Instagram or so on Chris Angel. I mean, he was doing the show, and he acknowledged you. He's like, we have here Zowie Bowie, one of the most known here in Vegas entertainment, and he pretty much edified you. I was like, wow.
No one was more shocked than I was that he even knew who I was, let alone, was so incredibly generous and kind with his words. And I knew him to some degree, but I never really hung out with him before, talked to him to any degree. And so for him to even know anything about me, I was so shocked because Chris, talk about the epitome of a kid with a dream who took his dream into the stratosphere between his TV show and his extreme presence in Las Vegas and his success over the years and the millions and millions of people he's been able to perform to and affect. And, he's done very well for himself, and deservedly so, because I will say right now, that is one of the most high energy, kick-ass, unique, creative, from the heart shows I have ever seen. You don't even have to enjoy magic or illusion. Just that, and the magic and illusion is great, but it's the presentation to me that I can't. It's like a rock concert with the most incredible visuals, and it's for all the five senses. You can feel it and sense it and breathe it and hear it and feel it. It hits you, and because I'm all about energy and making people feel good, and this show just transported you into this other realm of reality that I think people are looking for when they come to Las Vegas. Because when you come to Vegas, you want your dreams to come true. You want to experience things you can't experience back home. And quite frankly, in my opinion, Vegas used to be known for doing things here you can't do anywhere else. Now there's not much you can do here you can't find somewhere else, because there's casinos all over the world, there's shows, there's elaborate things. It's not that much different. But back in the 70s and 80s, there was nothing like Las Vegas. And that's what I came to that just changed. I was like, what is this? This is like the real Disneyland. Disneyland's cute, but Vegas, holy shit. This is where I want to set up shop and create my life and my brand and hopefully be able to inspire people like so many people in Vegas have done for others. But Chris Angel, I can't say enough about him. He's the real thing, man.
He's amazing. I mean, his show and everything is amazing. And you know what? So now you know who Zowie Bowie is. If you didn't know, you got to go see him and Fremont Street Experience, because he's amazing. I mean, when you see him over there, 1,000 people, 500, 5,000, they're going crazy, dancing, everything. Okay, so
I got to look it up before we.
So I was like, I was like, wow, that's my friend right there.
Well, I'm hoping you're coming to sing a few songs, and maybe consider that as your new career.
Wow. If I can say it, trust me, anybody can. I don't think I can do that. So take me to when it comes about on the early growing up. I mean, who was you said about Frank Sinatra, said about Elvis. Yeah, anyone else that you look up and say, one day I want to be like him.
This sounds so cliche, but my parents, they were the most lovely, incredible people I've ever known. And they were the people that would walk into a room and steal all the attention because they were so kind, so funny, they're witty, talented. And so I saw the way my parents would make other people feel. And that's what I wanted to do to others. But there was somebody else, too, that I always admired on television. It's Johnny Carson.
Oh, okay.
And with me, how do I put this? Show business, being on stage, doing what I do, the way I view a Vegas show is that the show starts when the song stops. Take that however you want.
Wow.
Because to me, that means a lot of people can sing, a lot of people can dance, a lot of good-looking people. But who can handle their business when the song stops? Who are you between songs? And that's where people like my idols and Johnny Carson and his ability to just seem so naturally gifted in just being real and so conversational. And I was so enamored by those who, when the camera turns on, they make the people sitting at home watching feel comfortable. That's what it's about. People in your audience, you got to make them feel comfortable. And so anybody that was able to walk on stage that I would ever see throughout my life that put you at ease and then excited you and then inspired you and lift you, that's any business. But obviously with entertainment, that's crucial.
Yes.
So to me, it was almost like I was a motivational speaker evangelist that played songs in between what I had to say. And to this day, I still have club owners things. Can you cut out the talking so much? To me, that is the show. And here's the song. Because, I love singing. I'm proud of what I've done. I love the music we do, but I do not regard myself as one of the top singers in Las Vegas by any means. That's not my claim. I think just me loving people to the point where they can tell and appreciate that, that's my talent.
So let's talk about Vegas now. I mean, because now, Vegas is sports. Hockey came and, then Vegas went crazy about sports. First of all, it was hockey, is that right? And we have not the NBA, but, the girls playing here, the Aces and Amanda Lay.
There has been a tremendous evolution that has taken place in Las Vegas, and it started. There was a couple of points you can point to throughout time where there was major transitions. One of them was Elvis coming here. Certainly, all that took place during the inception is the most important. But then there was different eras. The Elvis era. Then I would consider the Steve Wynn era is when they took it from being kind of where they used to say where entertainers go to die, or it's an old people's town. I love that. That was people. I wish it was still that, but they had other plans. Steve Wynn came in and, obviously he started with the Golden Nugget, brought Frank Sinatra there in 1980, I think it was, and that changed everything. As Sinatra and Golden Nugget, and then he decided, let's go to the Strip and build this brand new thing that changed Vegas forever called the Mirage. That was the biggest. Yeah. In my opinion, it went from old Vegas to new Vegas. I think it was during the early 90s when that was built, and then we went from there with the Bellagio, and obviously that went on. But Steve Wynn was certainly probably the most important person to change Vegas from what people used to preconceive it as what it was to what it is today. So now it's going through another change.
Yeah. So talk about Steve Wynn. Matter of fact, he used to live here in Spanish Trail, right here at the beginning. Yeah. So talk about him. Would you credit Steve Wynn pretty much transforming, if we could say transforming Las Vegas from the old Vegas and everything what is now?
Yes, there's about 5 different guys along the way that most people point to that were the founders, the creators, and the iconic figures that created what Vegas is. And Steve Wynn was certainly one.
Steve Wynn, the Fertitas.
Well, Fertitas, of course, were a big part of that. But now, in my opinion, you mentioned the new Vegas, which is, in my opinion, big time professional sports. Obviously, starting with the Golden Knights, which we were so excited. We got to write the song that was like the theme song to Golden Knights when they first started. It was commissioned by NBC Network when they would play their games. They needed a theme song. To this day, I think I've seen one hockey game when they won the freaking Stanley Cup. I think I saw that. I don't know what hockey. I come from Phoenix. We don't know what freaking hockey is. And they came to me and said, "Would you write a song about Vegas and hockey?" I'm like, "What?" But the point being, with the addition of professional sports, it's made this a considerably bigger time, international, bigger money kind of city that attracts a lot of big money. But because of that, you can view this however you want. Because I'm a small time guy. It's starting to kick out the little guy. Vegas used to come to Vegas in the 70s and 80s. You could come here with a couple $100, get a nice room, get the $2.99 steak and eggs for breakfast.
Not anymore.
And go to the casino and comped if you played a little. That's all gone.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I have to go with the flow and I have to embrace the changes. But for the small time guy that just needs to get away and blow off some steam, it's completely unaffordable. And that's good for the shareholders and the casino owners and the business owners, because now they're making a lot of money. It's become a huge international money pit of big time stuff. And it also attracted the big entertainers, the Celine Dion's, and now it's you go to Bruno Mars, Rod Stewart's, Garth, you name a hotel, you got a big time international touring, well known household name in their showroom or their theater. Now there's not even theaters or showrooms anymore. It's massive concert venues of 40,000 people. And they're just not stopping. But somebody capitalized on this. And the new name in town is a guy named Derek Stevens, downtown. He's the new Steve Wynn, who did what Steve Wynn did to the Strip. Derek Stevens has now done to downtown Las Vegas. He started with the oldest casino in Las Vegas called the Golden Gate, built in 1906. The oldest one. He built that. He said, I'm going to take classic Vegas and I'm going to reinvent it, clean it up, and make it cool again. He then started thinking, hey, this is working. He then took over, I think it was called the Fitzgerald, and called it the D Hotel. Tremendous success. And one of the reasons this is a success is he was appealing to the normal guy, the regular guy. He brought in high rollers and big money too, but he also embraced and appreciated the normal guy. This is an owner of a hotel who would sit at the end of the bar like Norm and Cheers and invite people from the street to his high roller seat to talk and to buy drinks and to talk. It was so personal. And so him and I hit it off, and he's one of the reasons we're out there and vice versa. But then he just went into the stratosphere when he built Circa. And the reason I bring up Derek and Circa is because it was the first hotel in Las Vegas that was based around sports. He understood that sports was the future of Las Vegas. His best friends became Dana White from UFC and big-time sports figures and, quarterbacks and things. They would all come to Circa because they have the largest, most impressive sports book in the world, geared towards sports. Out at their pool, we opened on it was the grand opening night of the hotel. It was New Year's Eve. It was during COVID. Nothing was open in town. No clubs, no nothing. But he allowed us to come in and broadcast live on CBS all over the country, live from Circa Hotel, Zowie Bowie, with our big show. You can see it on YouTube and stuff, but he took the chance. There was nobody in the audience. We performed to a camera guy and my girl, my wife. She, that's about it, who's in the audience. But it was out at their huge, massive pool that has the biggest screen in the world. It's also designed for sports and other things. But what he's done at Circa is he reinvented Las Vegas, and now downtown is the place to go because of him. Wow, Golden Nugget's great. And there's other stuff, but it was Derek that transformed that, and in the process, Fremont Street Experience and the concerts and the shows that are down there, like myself, became cool because downtown became cool. And so, like the Fertitas changed my life with Red Rock, Derek Stevens at Fremont and Zowie Bowie got to help revitalize and make downtown the place to go. And you could still go there and not have to spend a fortune. The cocktails are affordable, the rooms are affordable, and Fremont Street Experience itself is the best show in town.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. That experience is amazing.
And, it starts in the afternoon, and it goes till 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you perform there every single weekend, from Thursday to Sunday. Is that correct?
Well, we've had different nights throughout the years, but right now we're Friday and Saturday with 2 different shows.
Friday and Saturday.
Friday is our retro show called Retro Box, which is like a modern take on new wave 80s music, but kind of like with a modern EDM look and feel. And then on Saturday is the traditional Zowie Bowie, which is the nightclub party show with the hip hop and the rock and the thing. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't trade Fremont. If I was to come to Vegas and I had one night to stay here, I'd go to downtown.
Okay, so if you come to Vegas, go see Zowie Bowie, and we're going to give you all the details right here on the show. So, I mean, Golden Knights came and boom, then the Raiders came, and they're like, you know what? And the Raiders, if you see,
That's a whole,
I mean, the Raiders from Oakland, I mean, they went to another level as a franchise.
Not just a franchise, but in the way they were able to brand themselves. With this gorgeous high-tech new stadium, being in Las Vegas, the hippest, coolest city.
It's amazing, yeah.
All of a sudden, the Raiders transformed into this kind of a different type of a product. And now, with the A's coming in with the baseball, we're on the verge of an NBA.
I mean, hockey, we have NFL.
We're covering all the bases.
I mean, baseball's coming. And then the NBA, I'm hearing the NBA is going to come here.
And
I love basketball. I have my basketball.
One of the biggest international sports in the world takes over our city for an entire week in October, November. F1.
Oh, yeah, the F1. I mean, NASCAR, I mean, been here for years. I used to go there every single year with my son. So, I mean, what do you think Vegas is going to the next? On the next 5 years, next 10 years?
Well,
it's the next generation.
I think that what has become something of an ambitious plan is how to accommodate everybody and get everybody around town easily and effectively without creating too much. I guess we're on the verge of clogging up the city with too much traffic, too many people, too much confusion, too much. How do we get around? So I think the next step for Vegas is the transportation issue. How to get us around, be it through trams, underground tunnels, various things like that that can maybe alleviate some of the cars on the street. Because, I think the congestion is probably the only tremendous concern because, now they're building more rooms. There's more hotels going up. The new Hard Rock's building a tower. The Fountain Blue and Resorts World, are massive, massive properties with a lot of rooms. And cheers to you. And
cheers. I mean,
I'm so proud of you.
I mean,
you're talking about me this whole time.
I mean, who's you? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, people's going to be so happy.
Well, I figured out a long time ago there's a certain thing between vodka and desperation. When they come together, they create energy. Yeah. Wow. So, but yes, Vegas has been, and more so now than ever, the place to be for the international traveler that wants to go and just go nuts. And there's nothing here. There's nothing in the world that you can do that you can't find here now. And because what happened is in the old days, Vegas was the place where you could do and you could be and you could see things you couldn't see anywhere else. Then, with the expansion of casinos throughout the country and throughout the world, shows that kind of emulated Vegas, then you started being able to see things elsewhere than Vegas, and so people would not necessarily want to come here because they couldn't go to their professional sports game. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. But now all that has come to Vegas, and so there's no excuse not to come.
I mean, Vegas. I mean, right now it's crazy. But let's talk about something about the next Hollywood.
There we go.
I mean, I've been doing some research about that. What do you think for the next Hollywood?
Well, as you know, spearheaded by Mark Wahlberg and others, they took tremendous interest in our community, not just the prospect of bringing Hollywood here, but to live here. So a lot of the celebrities are moving here, as you may know, and because of that, they're seeing the fact that you can film for cheaper. There's a lot of affordable land. I think the taxes are much lower. Obviously,
that's why I'm here in Vegas.
Yeah, I get it. And so here's I guess if I have any concern at all, I totally invite Hollywood to come here, and I think it's exciting, and that'll just take us to a whole other plateau. But what I'm concerned about is the future of Hollywood, not necessarily as it relates to Vegas, but as it relates to the way they make movies. They are planning on this multi-million-dollar movie studio and facility. I'm just wondering how many years until that's going to be passé, and you can make a movie on your freaking phone that's on the level of a $300 million Hollywood production. They're already doing things. I'm doing things personally that 20 years ago would have been something out of the Jetsons or Star Trek. So with this whole AI thing, I don't know if it's going to be a backlot in a movie set or a bunch of 18-year-old kids on a computer making movies. Whatever it is, I invite the industry here, and I love Hollywood. I love motion pictures, and I hope they never die. And I think what the beautiful thing, just like live entertainment, not to get on the whole AI thing, but no matter how graphically perfect or and impressive AI may be, it still won't have the soul that you just can't get otherwise from a real human being and real creative art, because there's no perspective of AI's history of the character. Meaning, when you see somebody on stage, you're not seeing a guy sing. You're seeing, like Frank Sinatra. The reason Frank Sinatra was a big deal is because of his story, because of who he was, because of what he went through, and the hard knocks he took, and the badass human being he had become, and the good, the bad, and the ugly that came with that. You can't get that from an AI character. Just like in a movie, when you go see, your favorite movie stars, it's not just about the character they're portraying on the screen. You're watching an actor you love off screen too. It's half the reason you go see that movie, because you like the people that are in the movie. AI, there's no backstory. There's no substance. It may look great. It may be obviously the wave of the future, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I think at the end of the day, people are still going to want to see human beings for the sake that there's a story behind the talent or the product or the movie. So I'm not worried about my job for that very simple fact that I think what people are going to relate to is not necessarily the song I'm singing, but the vibe that I'm giving while I'm singing it. And I think the same thing goes with most of the pictures, television shows, and whatever else that, you want some humanity in this world we're living in, and what's the point? That's coming, but I'm old-fashioned, so yeah, let's leave it at that.
So, I mean, the rumors are that, the next Hollywood here in Vegas, the next Beverly Hills, real estate. I mean, real estate is it's just getting.
It sure is.
It's getting the price of LA. Let's put it that way. What do you see? I mean, do you think Vegas is going to be on the real estate, the housing? Like Los Angeles?
Being someone who built our home and has a house here, and watching just in the last couple of years the value of real estate go up and down and all around, I think that for anyone who wants to invest here, wants to own homes or property or anything, it's a great thing for them and for us, or whoever the case may be, just from a financial standpoint. But again, it's going to slowly, I think, create a bit more of a division. And I won't go down this path, because if there's anything in the world I can't stand, it's division between people. I'm the person who tries to bring us all together as one big happy family, no matter who, what you come from, what you believe in, what you look like. And I think with what's happening in Las Vegas, you're going to have the higher echelon of people who make the money, who all live up here on the hill, and then those who work for them. Which just sounds like, there's a castle on the hill, and then there's the kingdom. Whereas Vegas used to all be kind of this, we're all in this together. I think it's going to create a division, financially speaking, because things are becoming very expensive here.
I mean, here at the Summit, the lots there are like $10 million lots.
Oh, Lord, I know.
houses there, $20 million is cheap. Let's put it that way.
So I'm the guy that always looks out for the underdog, you know, because I am the underdog. I'm because you know I came here. I'm still nobody. I still have nothing.
Oh well, you're well known in Vegas. I mean, I have learned so much now. I mean, about the billboards, everything here, what Red Rock, you know, did for you, the petitas, Monte Carlo, and everything. So let me ask you about your parents.
Yes.
Because you were talking about your parents. I mean, is your parents? You still have your parents?
My mother is. God bless her. She's in her early 80s, but she still looks and acts like she's in her 40s.
Oh wow!
Unfortunately, I lost my father a couple of years ago, but he talk about an inspiration for wanting to be an entertainer. He was probably the funniest guy I ever knew, and talented. He was a piano player and sing. But he was the life of the party. He was an attorney. He was a city councilman. He was various other civic leader. But the thing that I loved so much about my dad is what he loved most was being a dad, being at home with his family. And that's kind of how I've become. And that's good and bad because I need to be out there doing things and working where I can't get enough of my family and my kid. And I realize because there's a rather significant age difference between myself and my daughter, because I had her very late. People my age have grandkids. I don't want to miss a moment. I want to take advantage of every second. And so, with that said, my parents were so lovely, and he was a brilliant guy. But, you know, that's life, you know. You have your time, and then you pass it down to your family. And so I'm just glad I have someone to pass my life down to now, because I didn't think that was in the cards at all. My parents didn't think they were going to be grandparents, because I was the only one that was going to give them a grandchild. And so God bless the fact, meeting my wife, and as it turns out, we had this perfect little angel. I was able to give my father the experience of being a grandfather for several years before he passed, and certainly still my mother, who's going to outlive me.
So your mom lives here in Vegas?
She lives still in Tempe, Arizona.
Oh, she's still in Tempe. What's your dad's? And he moved to Vegas?
No, they would come and visit. And I have a sister who's a few years younger that's far more successful than I am. She's a fire captain in Arizona, and she's brilliant and wonderful and funny and great. And you know, then I'm the guy who decided to go out and be a showgirl in Vegas.
So here's the $1 million question. Do you want to leave a legacy? How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, my. My instinct and the first thing to say would be to be the greatest father I could ever be. Everything else I do is irrelevant. But as it relates to, I think what you're asking, which is Zowie Bowie, what's the legacy of Zowie Bowie?
I mean, it can be either personal or it can be either, you know.
You know, I love being a dad more than anything, but in terms of how my legacy will be in Las Vegas, I just hope that among the incredible string of performers, entertainers, and people who made an impact in this community, I hope that people will remember that, you know, one of the things I love so much about being in my position is to give back to the community, be involved in charitable situations. And I'm part of a foundation right now called the Silver State Educational Foundation. And we're doing our first big event at the Italian American Club on Saturday, September 20th. And it's the most incredible organization in the sense we have kind of a crisis in Las Vegas right now, and that is we're missing 2,000 teachers that we need to fill positions for in the Las Vegas, just in Clark County. And so what our foundation is all about is to try to take high school graduates and do what we can to create scholarships, support financially their housing, their books and things so they can go to UNLV, get their education degree, and then we place them into positions here in Clark County, in Las Vegas. And the reason that means so much to me is because I come from a family of educators, and before my dad was an attorney, he was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My grandfather was a principal for 50 years. And so I grew up in a household of really appreciating educators. And so to be part of this particular foundation, means a lot to me. But I've been involved with various charities over the years, and I think that if I was to have some kind of legacy, it was just to be this kid with a dream. That if other people with a dream out there can say, "Gosh, I can never get to Vegas. It's too big. It's too much." You can point to Zowie Bowie and say, "You know what? You're wrong. This kid had nothing. He had nobody. He had no experience other than a dream, and he made it happen. He came here and he made a mark of some sort." And so I think my legacy would just simply be that dreams can come true, as corny as that sounds, and that if your intent is on the right track. With mine, it was just to make people happy. If you have good intent and it's not selfish and it's for others, I think you have a hell of a great chance in making it in anything you do. But with me, as being an entertainer, it's very possible to come here if you just understand that it's not about you, it's about them.
Wow. I mean, be a role model for a person that can be just watching the story, and say, you know what?
Again, I have a very small story in a city of big stories, but it's part of the fabric that makes, because it's like, I think over the years, if I haven't done something myself, I've hopefully affected others that have gone on to become this and that, and I was part of their story. There's a lot of entertainers that I'm a piece of their story, and then they have their dreams come true, and they can point to me saying, that damn Zowie Bowie, he gave me my start. He pulled me on stage for the first time, and then I went on and became this. And as long as I'm part of the story, it doesn't have to be about me, but maybe I had an effect on someone who then did something great. That's fine.
So for everyone that is going to be watching your story here on the show, Chris, how can they connect with you? On Instagram, social media.
I can give you the numbers to my various. There's rehab. There's jail. There's. Oh, that's just not true. I would. When they think about me with friends or fans, is that there's nobody that would be a go-between. I do everything myself on all levels. So you contact me. You're not contacting
me. So they can follow you on Instagram.
I'm the one who will write you back.
Okay. On Instagram, Facebook,
Instagram. Yeah. I'm not cool enough for
so we're going to put it right here on the show. All the social media, Instagram, YouTube.
It's mainly Facebook and Instagram. I have no presence on YouTube. I don't even know how to load a video on there. I'm so old school and old fashioned, bro. You have no idea. But it isn't about that to me. Because this will shock you and probably people out there. Typically people in my position make it a business. And they sell things. They sell merchandise to make money. I've been in business now for 40 years. I've been Zowie Bowie for 35 years. I've done 6,000 shows. I played to millions of people, made millions of dollars. I've never sold a single thing with my name on it. I just didn't care. It wasn't about selling me. It was about making people happy. And it was the dumbest thing I've ever done. So I got the intro. I was like, damn, I should have sold some shirts or some CDs, to create that retirement. And so I think if I ever did anything stupid, it was not to make Zowie Bowie a brandable product of some sort. But my product was never assured. It was just me.
So anything else you want to share here before?
Yes, and I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you.
Oh, thank you for the show, because
I'm somebody worthy of being on here, and with all the success you're having, I'm inspired by you, and quite frankly, in terms of you're teaching me how to maybe make business out of what I do for 20 years, other than standing on stage with a cocktail. I don't know.
And here, this is going to come out my show probably 2 weeks from now, and you know that my daughter's going to get married here at the house.
I do.
All the construction going on here at the house is kind of crazy. I'm under pressure right now because she's getting married October 4th.
I understand you.
And it will be an honor to have you here. We're going to invite a lot of neighbors here at Spanish Trail Country Club. I've been here 22 years. This August is going to be 22 years here in this house. And that's why, to me, I'm so happy. I want to invite my family from Salvador, friends from Europe, from Australia, from Canada, all over US. I mean, we're gonna have so much fun. You know, I mean, here at the house.
I can't wait. It's going to be the party of the year, my friend.
Yeah, so
I'm going to live vicariously through you how you plan your daughter's wedding, because I hope I get to the point where I can do the same.
Well, I'm telling you, I mean, I'm so nervous about it. I'm so nervous because I'm like, I want to make it.
It's going to be great. You're going to do
Okay, so, I mean, it's been an honor to have you on the show here.
Well, thank you. I
get to know you more, and I mean, wow. Okay, so I mean, and my audience here on the show, I mean, I'm telling you, please comment. If you have seen Zowie Bowie on Fremont Street Experience, comment right here on this show. If you haven't been, you gotta go. You gotta come to Vegas. Okay, and when you come to Vegas, you gotta go downtown. Okay, you gotta go downtown. You're gonna have fun. It's amazing. Everything was out there. And you're on the Fremont Street Experience. You by the what casino?
We are right in front of Derek Stevens' Circa Hotel.
Okay.
Premier casino resort on Fremont Street. And if you don't come see us, you got to go see Circa.
Okay, so yeah, go see Zowie Bowie. And my friend, one more time, it's an honor to have you here on the show. And we got to do this again. We're going to do it again. I mean, see what's next for Zowie Bowie in the future, and keep it, you know, here on the show, everything what's going to happen in the future. So,
well, hopefully, if I get nothing out of this, I hope my wife watches it, so it will inspire her to let me continue to do this for a couple more years before she just grow up and get a job.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you're gonna hate it, my friend. I mean, just once you go see Zowie Bowie and say, no, he's not gonna retire. He's gonna be there for the next 100 years. So thank you, and you know what? Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like, because this channel is growing every single day. Thank you. Bye-bye.